Alright, shalom, shalom. I want to give all praise and honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Yahweh is the Heavenly Father, and Yahweh Shai is the Son of the living power, the Messiah, which these are the true names of the Most High and His only begotten Son in the ancient Hebrew tongue, in Lashon Kodash, which means holy language. Also want to give double honors to the elder apostles, to the elder bishops, and to the upcoming elders that rule well, that teach well, of great millstone, and peace and blessings unto the elect, unto the house of David, unto the 144,000, and salute shalom to the fellow laborers pushing His truth. My name is Zakaria, and the focus of this lesson is biblical prophecy. That's the focus of the majority of my lessons, ultimately for the purpose of edification, being edified, the elect being edified, which these words, these scriptures is able to make one wise onto salvation. And that's the main focus of this lesson. Again, my name is Zakaria. And Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. Which what prompted me to do this lesson is this video that I came across earlier on Twitter, surrounding Russian individuals that were appointed by, if I'm not mistaken, the Russian government to act out a prayer or to throw up a prayer, for preparation for nuclear war, and this is, their religious way of preparing for nuclear war, for World War III, because ultimately the Russians, they know it's inevitable, they know it's coming, they know that, hey, there's no way around it, so this is their way of preparing for a World War III. So I'm gonna play this video, and Lord willing, again, Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. So, and while I was meditating upon this video, I was meditating on how, on how Putin, the Russian leader, the leader of, Russia, has a religious mind frame, a religious way of thinking. He has, a regard or a respect towards, the Bible, even though his understanding is not there, but he has a respect, a regard for religious things, and for, divinity, for divine command, and for God, and scripturally speaking, Russia is sanctified by the word of the Most High, Russia is sanctified by the word of the Lord, and that's proved by the scriptures, man. Ordained, prepared, sanctioned, by the word of the Lord. The Lord, by His power, have positioned Russia to be that country, to be that kingdom, to be a major factor to the destruction of America, to the destruction of Babylon the Great. And that is biblical prophecy, and this, knowing this and understanding this should put you in a mind frame. This should put you in or shall I say, this should give you a perspective on this coming war. You should really see it, as an event that is inevitable, an event that is by the influence of the most supreme being in this entire existence. Going into, what Thanos said, dread it, run from it. Destiny arrives all the same. And the brother Kazak, he will from time to time quote that, recite that, and that's true. Russia is sanctified, ordained, moved, influenced, positioned, prepared by Yahweh himself to destroy America. And I will prove that by the scriptures. Even though the Lord is not dealing with Russia, the Lord, has no regard, for Russia, but it has its purpose, just like with every nation, every kingdom, and every individual and every living thing on this planet Earth has its purpose. So let me stop talking, and jump straight into the scriptures. When you go into that, in fact, before I get the scriptures, I want to go into that word sanctified. Now you got a couple of definitions for the word sanctified. One definition is what? Set apart as or declare holy, to consecrate. Well, this is what I mean by sanctified. Make legitimate or binding by religious sanction. And Russia, this is proved by the scriptures, Russia is bound is subject to the prophecy in the Holy Bible. And you have many prophecies. So I'm going to just jump straight into it. Let's read it again. Make legitimate or binding by religious sanction. And yeah, this is the Lord's purpose. This is the Lord's strategy. This is the Lord's intent. In fact, let's go and get this scripture real quick before I get anything. Let's go to the book of Job, chapter 23, verse 13. It says, but he is in one mind, and who can turn him? So the Lord is of one mind. Meaning what? He has one opinion. In fact, let's just look. Let's get a better understanding of this word, one mind, or what it means to have one mind. A focused, undisturbed mind for the process of concentrating the mind of a single object. Well, let's Salaki, bear with me. Share the same opinion. So when it comes to these prophecies concerning this world, concerning this country, concerning these nations, that will never change, nor will they fail. When the Lord have planned something, they will be fulfilled. They will be accomplished. It says, share the same opinion, in agreement. So the Lord have proposed for America to be destroyed. And that's biblical prophecy, man. By way of nuclear fire and nuclear radiation. Right, so let's go into the scriptures. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51, verse 27. It says, set ye up a standard in the land. And when it comes to a standard is a flag. When is a flag raised? It is raised during times of war or battle. So That's, what is being implied. A time of war, a time of violence, armed conflict. It says, blow the trumpet among the nations. Yeah. A trumpet for what? For battle. It says, prepare the nations against her. Now, when you go into this chapter, the focus of this chapter is, America, which the nickname that the Lord have gave to America is what? Babylon the Great. Babylon, that is a nickname of America. It says, prepare the nations against her. Now, hey, let's go into that word prepare real quick. Let's go into that word prepare. It means kadash. Kadash. In the Hebrew, it's quadash. Well, this is the Hebrew, but this is the modern Hebrew. But you'll get that word sanctify. Prepare, to dedicate. So the Lord have ultimately sanctified this war. This World War III. So prepare the nations against her. So the Lord have proposed the nations to destroy America. It says to call together against her the kingdoms of Ararat, Mini, and Ashkenaz. Appoint a captain against her. Cause the horses to come up as the rough caterpillars. Prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes. So you'll get that word prepare, which is from the Hebrew word kadash, or quadash, shall I say. So the Lord, in this case, is now talking about the Russians. When the scripture speaks about the king of the Medes, it's referring to the Russians. Because, and that land, I'm not going, go into the history, but, the Medes is referring to the Russians, It says the captains thereof and all the rulers thereof and all the land of his dominion. So the Lord have ultimately sanctified this war, sanctified the nations, and sanctified Russia to be positioned against America, So this is a holy war in a sense, In fact, a holy war meaning what? Any war fought by divine command. In this case, the word, that's divine command. Prophecy, which means to say before, to speak before. All for a religious purpose. Yeah, the purpose of the Lord, the will of the Lord. And this is what, these Christian scholars, you different preachers, you different teachers, pastors, of these different religions, this is what they don't understand. Holy war is not a thing of old, or it's not only a thing of old. No, you have one more holy war, to get through. The World War III is a holy war. Why? Because it have been prophesied by the Lord, who's the Lord's mouthpiece, the prophets. At the end of the day, it's not the prophets' prophecies, it's the Lord's prophecies. These are the Lord's words. The Lord just put the spirit on the prophets, to teach these things, to prophesy these things, to declare these things, So the Lord have prepared, sanctified these nations with the king of the Medes, who is the Russians, to come against her, which is America, which is ultimately referring to America, Babylon, In fact, when we go into the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, verse 24, it says, "For wisdom is more moving than any motion." Now in the book of Sirach, chapter 1, it tell you, the word of the Most High is the fountain of wisdom. So these prophecies, that's the wisdom of the Most High. That's the word of the Lord. It says it's more moving than any motion. Moving meaning what? Controlling, influencing, forcing, directing, orchestrating, causing, affecting. So the word of the Lord, these prophecies, is going to be moving these nations, man. Positioning everything on this planet Earth. It says than any motion. You think about the rain or snow. They fall down from heaven and cause and it'll influence certain things to happen on this physical plane. It caused the plants to grow. Well, in this case, how much more the word is going to literally move certain things, influence certain things. It says she passeth and goeth through all things by reason of her pureness. For she is the breath of the power of the Most High. So when it comes to these words, it is the power of the Lord. When it comes to these prophecies, it is the force of the Lord. The Lord showing you what he's about to influence, what he's about to force, what he's about to produce on this planet Earth. So these words just not being a thing that's, spoken by men. No, it is, a demonstration, by words of what the Lord is about to do, literally. We showing you what the Lord is about to do through his own power, through his own ability. It says, in a pure influence flowing from the glory of the Almighty. Therefore can no defile thing fall into her. It says, for she is the brightness of the everlasting light, the unspotted mirror of the power of God. So it's a demonstration. These words is literally like a preview, that you can only hear, right? Because it's words. But it's going to come a time when these things are going to be manifest or demonstrated, displayed physically before our very eyes, Proverbs chapter 21, verse 1. It says, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. Who's your modern day kings? These different leaders, presidents, administrations, in governments, or high officials in governments. Hey, the Lord control them. In fact, recently you had Washington basically preparing to give permission to Ukraine to use missiles inside of Russia. And Russia, came down and said, if this happened, if NATO, and America allow Ukraine to do such a thing, then this is, or this will be a direct war, a direct war between Russia and America and NATO, So in a roundabout way, this is all the orchestrated or orchestration of the Lord. This is all the Lord's influence, shall I say. They're under the influence, As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So at the end of the day, it's his will. Now, the Lord's not going to bring nuclear or war until the MOTB come onto the scene. So the prophecy concerning the mark of the you-know-who, the MOTB is an acronym for the mark of the beast, which is the chip implant, which will be used as an object or an instrument for digital currency. You know, it will be a little piece of technology implanted in the flesh of man, and people will use that to, you know, to buy and sell. You know, so the Lord, he's gonna will these nations to do what they're prophesied to do after the prophecy concerning the MOTB is fulfilled. You know, in fact, you know, go more into it just to show you this is all the Lord's movie. Psalm chapter 139 verse 1, it says, to the chief musician, a psalm of David. O Yahweh, thou hast searched me and known me. Thou knowest my down sitting. And when you go into the I forgot what they call it, you know, I forgot what they would call it, or the headliner. It says God's omnipresence and omniscience. So first of all, the Lord is all-knowing, and he's present in everything, in every work. You know, he's present and he's omnipotent, all-powerful. So at the end of the day, you know, you got a thing called fate. That is a biblical thing. In this case, it's predestination. You know, there's not a work, there's not an enterprise, there's not a business, there's not an action that the Lord did not, you know, permit, that the Lord did not see. You know, every evil thing that you have ever understood have happened on this planet Earth was permitted by the Lord, or known by the Lord. Even, you know, the first evil thing, for example, you know, the Eve being beguiled. The Lord seen that and the Lord permitted it. Just showing you this is all the Lord's movie and all the Lord's script, you know. So going back to Psalm chapter 139 verse 2, thou knowest my down sitting and my uprising. So the Lord, he see, you know, he see every one of our lives from when we wake up to when we lay down. You know, the Lord see every small movement of yours on a daily basis. That's how omniscient he is and omnipresent he is. The Lord even see your thoughts, you know. It says, thou understandest my thought afar off. Thou compassest my path and my lying down, and art acquainted with all my ways. Yeah, the Lord see all your ways, all your actions, every step. The Lord know how many steps literally you take every day. It says, for there is not a word in my tongue, but lo, O Yahweh, thou knowest it altogether. I'm going to get to the point. This is the point right here, verse 5. You know, thou hast beset me behind and before, and laid thine hand upon me. Now, what does this mean? And this is a Psalm of David. You know, David was expressing on how, or David, he was touching upon how the Lord is present and there before your beginning. You know, really, the Lord is present and there from the course of your existence. First of all, he was there because he's the one who created you, you know, and he ordained your course. He ordained what will happen to you, what you will experience. He ordained everything. Let's go to the AMP translation. It says, in fact, let's see real quick. Archon, it's the NASB 20 translation. I don't know exactly what translation this is. I'm not very familiar with it, but I'm going to read it. It says, you have encircled me behind and in front. So the Lord, he's the author of your entire existence. And this applies for all of us individually. You know, he know will happen to you in the future because he ordained it. You know, he knew what happened to you in your past, even in your past lives, right? Which reincarnation is a thing. Our spirit is way older than his flesh. So he knew what happened to you in your past life because he the one who ordained your life all the way up until now. You know? And I'm going to show you why I'm bringing out these scriptures. It says, and place your hand upon me. Yeah, it says, and place. Let's read KJV. Thou hast beset me behind and before, and lay thy hand upon me. Now the hand of the Lord, where it's referring to what? His control, his power. In this case, well, yeah, you know, that's what it's concerning. The Lord's control is on everything. The Lord controls everything. His hand is on everything. You know? His hand is on Russia. His hand is on NATO. His hand is on America. You know? You know? Like an author, he's the first author. He's the top author of this, but he's an author of this existence. You know? You know, you got the characters, you got the cast, you got the plot, you got the storyline, you got the setting. But the Lord, that's all in the Lord's control. You know? You know, and in fact, to go deeper, in this case, you know, you got the angels of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, you know, basically influencing, programming certain things to happen on this physical plane. You know, in fact, to prove that, let's go to the book of Job real quick. Let's go to the book of Job real quick. Destruction. Job chapter 33 verse 16. It says, in fact, we could get verse 15. It says, in a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon men, and slumberings upon the bed. Yeah, so the Lord, when you were asleep or at nighttime, the Lord will send an angel, right, during that time to do what? Verse 16. Then he openeth the ears of men and sealeth their instruction. You know, so the Lord, and this cuts that ideal, that concept of free will. Ain't no such thing as free will, man. You know, whatever man doeth, the Lord permitted. You know, it's the Lord that seal your steps, that program your way. You know, even your will. You know, every man has his own will, his own desires and intentions. With the Lord, he even permitted your intentions, your will. The Lord control your will too. You know, whether your will to, you know, to do certain things, you know, to commit, you know, violence or whatever, you know, to do, you know, sometimes the Lord permitted. Right, but you get the point. The Lord has certain angels to come down from the heavens and to operate on the mind of men. In this case, you know, the mind of kings, you know, the mind of governments, you know, the minds of, you know, administrations, you know. For example, you know, the Washington, you know, the Lord, you know, everything that, for example, you know, you have so much backlash, you know, you have so much opposition against, the strategy of America, of Washington, you know, because, you know, the majority of the American people, they don't want war. They don't want nuclear war. They don't want to go to war. Nor do they want to pick a fight with Russia. What the Lord is putting the spirit on America, on Washington, to do certain things to, make angry Russia. That's all the will of the Lord. But you get the point. In fact, to prove it even more, you got, because the angels, they're also likened to the hand of the Lord, right? Because they're really subjects that carry out the pleasures, the intentions, the desires of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. That's what they're designed for, and that's what they're created for. Well, you also got spirits created for vengeance. In certain cultures, they'll call them death angels. Well, hey, that's a real thing. You got certain angel spirits created to bring forth evil. To bring forth death or destruction. In fact, to prove that, let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 39, verse 28. It says, there be spirits that are created for vengeance. And this is in the Bible, man. Death angels. Spirits created or appointed to bring certain evil things. For example, war or national war, World War III. Well, you're going to have spirits that's going to influence that to happen, at the appointed time. It says there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. What? Bring forth that destruction. It says in a time of destruction, they pour out their force. Force meaning what? Their power. So you got different spirits or angels that are literally created to bring forth or to influence certain things, right? Influence the mind of man, to affect the mind or the reasoning of man, how a person think, or how a kingdom think. When you think about World War I, World War II, those of you who know how those wars was created, or how those wars was brought forth, well, they don't really understand the spiritual side of things. They don't understand the Lord was working. The Lord was working. The Lord influenced it. It says, in time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. Right? So, appease meaning what? Pacify, or to relieve, or to satisfy. So the Lord got angels out there to satisfy his needs. And sometimes the Lord intend for evil. Desire evil. Right? But to get even deeper, more understanding, it says fire and hail and famine. So you also got spirits, angels that are created to influence, famine, lack of food, or even elemental or natural calamities, whether it be hurricanes, tornadoes, or whether it be earthquakes, hailstorms, whatever, firestorms. It says fire and hail and famine and death. All these were created for vengeance. To give it even deeper, it says teeth of wild beasts. So you got spirits that hop on certain animals, to influence animals to kill a person or whatever. It says, and scorpions, serpents, and a sword, punishing the wicked to destruction. So the sword meaning what? Is a weapon of what? A destruction, a war. So you got spirits that influencing on a time of armed conflict, working on the mind of man, or in this case, the mind of kings, or governments, because really, these kings in today's day and age, they don't have absolute power, right? But, they share that power to some degree, with, different individuals. So in this case, you got the Lord influencing by way of these angels in the mind of these administrations, the minds of these governments, to bring forth, to make certain actions, to do certain things, to make a certain move on the world scene that may have a bad reaction. In this case, it's America and NATO, giving Ukraine weapons to use in Russia. And Russia say, if this happened, you allow this, and this come through, then we are at direct war. And this is Russian stance. This is their attitude. So just showing you that, going back to Psalms chapter Psalm chapter 139 verse 5. Thou hast beset me behind and before. Well, this is truthful. I already touched upon that part of the scripture. This applies for all of us individually. Our life story and our life course, our lot, our fate, the course of our existence is all in the Lord's control, to our beginning and to our end. In this case, when it comes to your elect, when it comes to Israel, well, the Lord permitted us to have immortality, right? But you get what I'm trying to say. It says, and lay thine hand upon me. Well, the same applies to a kingdom, a country, a nation. The Lord controls these nations as a whole as well. It says, such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high, I cannot attain unto it. Verse 7 says, whither shall I go from thy spirit? Or whither shall I flee from thy presence? Yeah. When you go into that word spirit, it's from the Hebrew word raha, which means spirit. Well, a spirit, right? But I want to go into that the usage of this word. Right down here, it says prophetic spirit. Prophetic spirit, or really of the will. So in this case, or it says, as inspiring aesthetic state of prophecy, or as impelling prophet to utter instruction or warning. So, whither shall you go from the Lord's spirit? In this case, from the prophecy of the Lord, because the prophecies is the word of the Lord. And the word of the Lord is his will, is his desire, is his purpose, or his plans, his intent, is his thoughts. The word of the Lord is really the thoughts on the Lord of the Lord printed on paper. And that's a small part. We don't know everything. We prophesy in part and we know in part. But these scriptures is really the thoughts of the Lord. Shall I say the prophecies? In this case, his purposes, his intents, his desires, his strategies, the things that he wants to do and that he wants to happen. Well, we got these things on paper and we have an understanding of these things. So in this case, no one can escape the prophecy of the Lord. These prophecies, America can't escape its fate, its lot, Same with Russia, Russia, they may not know it, truly, but we know it. Those who believe and attend to this doctrine wholeheartedly, we know that Russia is positioned to play a fucking part. We know that there is an inevitable event coming, World War III. And this put us in a mind frame of, of being heedful. We should be heedful because the end is nigh. It says, or whither shall I flee from thy presence? Yeah, there's no spirit, not even Satan, not even demons. There's no human, there's no nation, there's no kingdom, there's no country that is separate or independent, shall I say, from the prophecies, from the word of the Lord, from the will of the Lord, from the Lord's purpose for you. You can't escape it. Dread it, run from it. Destiny arrives all the same. It says, if I ascend into heaven, this is what David was expressing. This is what David was touched upon. He understood the omnipotence, the omnipresence, and omniscience of the Lord. This is the Lord's movie. It don't matter where you go on this planet Earth. Whatever the Lord have destined for you, have prepared for you, that's going to be done. You elect, you believers. If you're of the elect, then you're going to be saved according as it is written. As it is written, man. There has to be the elect, and there has to be the wicked. There has to be the 2/3. There has to be the unbelievers. Why? Because the Lord have purposed it to be so. And if the Lord have purposed you to be the elect, that have been, described in the scriptures, then that's what you're going to be. It says, if I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. And if I make my bed in hell, meaning what, the grave, behold, thou art there. Yeah, the Lord chose who die or not, who goes down to the grave, and who goes, to the spirit world. The Lord is present in all things. There's nothing independent from the Lord. There's no, for example, the Lord is not a power that sees something happen on this earth and say, damn, I ain't expect that. I ain't see that happening. Damn, I ain't know that was going to happen. Damn, I ain't know this country was going to fall. Damn, I ain't know this country was going to rise. Damn, I ain't know these humans could reach this height of knowledge. I ain't know that. Damn, I ain't know man was going to be able to create nuclear weapons. I know, no, that was all the Lord's permission, man. Nuclear capability, the Lord gave that to man, right? Because it's part of the plot. The Lord's there always. When you think about I forgot what Oppenheimer, one of the main persons that helped create the atomic bomb. Well, the Lord ordained Oppenheimer. I think Robert J. Oppenheimer. Well, the Lord ordained him to be a factor or be a person, to help create nuclear capability. Now, did Oppenheimer, growing up, perceive that? No, he probably didn't. He probably thought he was some ordinary person. But, hey, somebody had to be the blacksmith, the smith. And when I say smith, in the ancient, smiths are the men. You got a thing called ironsmith or blacksmith. And there were people who were skilled in creating weapons, or they were skilled in craftsmanship. In ancient world, what they were skilled in, I think they were called blacksmith or ironsmith. I don't know. Forgive me if I'm wrong, right? Because you got different names for it, right? But you had craftsmen, you had men of skill who were skilled in creating weapons in the ancient world. In this day, those smiths are your scientists. Well, the Lord created those scientists that helped create the atomic bomb. And now you have what you see today. Nations having, a great amount of capabilities, nuclear capabilities. It says, if I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there shall thy hand lead me. And yeah, that's the proof. That's the point. It is the Lord leading Russia. Going back to this post, the Lord is leading Russia. Whether you want to see it or not, what's happening, what we're seeing now is spiritual. And really, everything is spiritual when you really think about it. Well, or shall I say, there's a spiritual element, and damn near everything, or surrounding everything. Even when it comes to the wicked, the wicked, when they do wickedly, you have, probably demons surrounding that, you know, right? When you go into, the time when the atomic bomb was being created, and you had angel spirits, influencing that, influencing their minds, because the knowledge of the atomic bomb, that's not, bro, that's not ordinary. That's not, that's not earthly. Well, it is earthly, but, that's great knowledge. But it was the Lord helping them connect the dots. It was the Lord working with their minds to, create certain formulas and stuff like that. So the Lord is leading, and positioning and directing, everything, and it makes you think that the prophecy concerning the MOTB, or shall I say the MOTB, is coming soon. It's coming soon, man. And all you cats, all you people who saying the MOTB, the mark of the beast, is sin, is philosophy, or something other than the chip implant, you're gonna be manifested as a liar, man, when this thing come to pass. And a lot of you are gonna stand tall on y'all, position, on y'all opinions, on y'all hearsays. But the Lord, hey, at the end of the day, the elect is gonna see the truth, and it's not to say that we are at the end. No, we are not at the end. But we're coming soon to the beginning of the end. We're coming into the beginning of the end. And we may very well be in the beginning of the end. It says, even there shall thy hand lead me. So the Lord leads you no matter where you are. You could be in the deepest part of the sea. The Lord has a control on your life course, on your faith, on your life purpose, It says, and thy right hand shall hold me. Yea, hold you to control you, If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, even the night shall be a light about me, yet the darkness hideth not from thee, but the night shineth as the day. The darkness and the light are both alike to thee. Yet the Lord is not a being that's seeing what's happening on this earth and say to himself, damn, I ain't see that happening. Damn, I ain't know that was going to happen. Damn, that's a surprise. No, there's nothing surprising onto him, because he see everything, he know everything, and whatever happens, he done permitted it. It was him that permitted it. And you had IUIC basically tag teaming up with Muslims, holding together, what they will call it, they were just amassing together. In a way, you could say they was holding camp together, and you had an individual, during that occasion, basically, speaking out against the Lord's judgment, basically implying that, basically making it seem like IUIC, basically making it seem like, in a roundabout way, that we are able to stop the Lord's judgment. No, right? For example, the crime, violence, what you got going on in this world, how, what's going on in our communities, black on black crime, violence, shootings, and stuff like that. You know, that's what the Lord want. You know, because ultimately He's rewarding, you know, man on a daily basis, you know, their recompense. So you basically making this, and I don't know if I forgot if it was a man or a woman that said that. But the point is that you can't stop the judgment of the Lord. If the Lord wants violence in our community, that's what's going to happen, man. Because it's the will of the Lord. It says, right, but you get the point. You can't stop the will of the Lord. You know, and the Lord has a will, has a purpose for all of us individually or as a whole. You know? Isaiah chapter 45, verse 7. Even when you think about car accidents and stuff like that, the Lord ordained it. When you think about airplanes, you know, that from time to time fall out of the sky, you know, and kill a lot of people, the Lord ordained that, you know. Isaiah chapter 45, verse 7. It says, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. So the Lord is the one that's creating the evil that happens on a daily basis, even minor evils or major evils that involve minor evils involving few, you know, and you have that playing out all throughout the earth, you know, or major evils that involves millions in the world war, you know. It says, I make peace. So the Lord create times of peace or national tranquility, you know. It says, and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. You get the point, man. So understand this. This is what the Lord had proposed, you know. So I'm going to close off on that. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. I want to give double honors to the elder apostles, elder bishops, and the upcoming elders. Peace and blessings unto the elect. And salute shalom to the fellow laborers, prisoners, truth. And all praise and honor and glory be to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, shalom.